Hi, this is Kumar Singh from Designed Analytics LLC and welcome to another episode of Maverick Mondays. Well, in the last or the previous episode, we started our journey of understanding how brain-computer interface can be basically leveraged for the use case of smartphones, right? One key thing that we emphasized in the last episode was the utility of having those features, right? So we started our discussion focusing on somebody with disabilities who would have a hard time kind of operating the smartphones the way they are, using their fingers, hands, and maybe carrying the smartphone around. We figured out that given the current technology, accommodation or accommodative technologies plus accommodation available to people with disability, there are technologies that already exist that can help, right, provide the basic features of a smartphone without a person interacting with an actual smartphone, right? And they can access those basic features like calling and texting, right? So if they already have a brain computer interface and they already have other technologies, right? As promised in the last episode, in this episode we will start discussion around the utility, the importance, usefulness of these kind of capabilities in typical individuals, right? So on one hand we have what can be done, like what is theoretically maybe in the future technology wise possible, and then what should be done, as in again the utility aspect, right? How useful it is for you and me to basically have a feature where we actually have something embedded in our brain where we don't need to actually access our smartphone because we have a chip embedded in our brain. What could be the reason, right? If you think from that perspective, right, one of the reasons that I can think of is, we do not want to carry our smartphone with us, right? So then if you take a step back, is not carrying a smartphone always translating into the fact that we will then not be able to actually leverage those features of smartphone until we embed a chip in our brains, right? So this problem or this objective of bringing this technology, the BCI enabled technology for the typical person into the customer segment of a typical person has essentially two parts, right? One is the features that we need, like the smartphone capabilities that we need, and considering that we are very reluctant to carry a smartphone with us, can we actually replicate those features with existing technologies, right? That's one aspect, and that is the aspect we'll focus in today's episode. And the second aspect of that is, can we develop a BCI based solution, brain computer interface based solution, based on current technologies for typical individuals that they would be okay with? If not, what kind of improvements or enhancements need to be made to basically help this kind of technology become a reality in the future, right? So in this episode, let's try to understand, when I say that you can actually design something where you do not have to carry your smartphone, what does that mean? As mentioned in my previous episode, the key lies in a portfolio of devices, right? So you will obviously always have to carry a relatively bulkier piece of device. Now you can think of this device maybe as the device that OpenAI is planning, right? It's a smart device, yet it's not a smartphone. It does not have a screen, and remember, the entire use case is based on the hypothesis that because of some weird reason, you and we do not want to interact with the screen of a smartphone, right? So at the heart of this lies the interesting concept of neural waveguide modeling and waveguide holography enabled cameras. And if all this sounds futuristic, none of this is. The technology is already kind of very much in rapid prototyping these days, right? So what you see here is basically key components of a waveguide holography enabled smart glasses, right? So essentially what it does is it is using wavefront cameras and neural waveguide models. So a combination of hardware and AI enabled hardware to project images. It's a holographic projection smart glass that is currently work in progress. Now, if you're really interested, nerdy, you would love some of these components and you would try to understand, but that's not the objective of this episode, right? So the gist here is, if we want to convert this into a solution, this device, portable device, which is not a smart phone, you can carry that smartphone with you, okay? That device with you. And that device, we think about it, it has the capabilities of a phone, and within the realm of that device is a virtual screen, right? It does not have a screen, you cannot interact with any kind of screen, but it has a virtual screen in its memory that it can project to the wavefront cameras that are basically available in the smart glasses, right? And with that capability, you are able to actually see your smartphone screen on your glasses. Then comes the part of interacting with them without a brain-computer interface, and that's where the human computer HCI, right, comes into play. So basically, we have already experienced advances in HCI, right? Whether you're using our earbuds or smartwatches, they are increasingly packing HCI features where through movement of specific body parts we can control these electronic devices. The same can be used to perform certain functions, and in fact, if you're thinking about calling or browsing through a contact list and going through the menu, just building an algorithm around the movement of your eyes, like the pupils in the eyes, right, and winks, you can actually build a very comprehensive portfolio. But if there are still many aspects, right, where you believe we will not be able to capture with the movement of our eyes or the muscles around our eyes, then we can always pair it with our smartwatches, and those smartwatches can be used as pads if we do not want to take our hands all the way to the rim of the smart glasses, right? Because if you use smart glasses, you know that they have control panels on their rims, right? So that's the current state, right? You can build something using this current state. This has not been perfected yet. This projection of virtual memory to the wavefront camera is something that is actually it does not exist. But my initial research, again, like I am not the smartest, brightest bulb in the room, so I could be entirely wrong, but I think there are ways to make that happen, right? Obviously work needs to be done, but I think if somebody focuses on it within this decade, or maybe in next 10 years, to be on the safer side, we can perfect this technology, right? So now what's the next area? How can we design a solution with brain computer interface, right? And what will it look like? That is something we'll discuss in the next episode of Maverick Mondays.